Welcome back to Mock, where we take a look at someone else's mock draft, and I mock it, give you my views, thoughts, and opinions. We got the one, the only, Bucky Brooks. We're gonna be checking out his mock draft today. It's his actually his first of the season, so good for you, Bucky. Good for you. But I have a 7 freaking round mock draft out on the channel. Just did it yesterday, so go ahead if you haven't already and check that out. Show it some love. Give it a thumbs up, much like you're gonna do with this video. But I guess let's go ahead and get into this sucker. I actually gotta close this because this is the actual one right here. Special thanks to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring the video. You got the conference championship games this weekend. And if you're feeling froggy, you want to get a little betting in, check out Underdog Fantasy. When you sign up with promo code Broshmo, they will match your deposit anywhere up to $100. So that's promo code Broshmo when you sign up at Underdog Fantasy. Bet responsibly, my friends. Let's get into this sucker. All right, Dolphins will forfeit there. Yeah, I already know. Fins up, baby. Fins up. All right, so he's got the Chicago Bears, so I'm assuming no trades in this one, which I think that's fair. So no trades. Be funny if we see a trade. But Will Anderson going here. Yeah, if you're the Bears, you can't. Like, I feel like the Bears, regardless, even if they stay with this pick, if they move out of this pick, they're gonna get Will Anderson or they're gonna get Jalen Carter. Well, I guess that's if they trade down with the Colts to 4, or if they trade down to the Texans to 2. Any further than that, you're probably not going to see either of those guys. But I think this is currently a very safe option, safe pick, and it's a good pick. The Houston Texans next on the clock go with my man, Bryce Young. Hey. Big fan of Bryce Young. Think he's the best thrower of the football. There is not a lot to critique about his game, except for that, yeah, I get it. He itty bitty. He's probably going to be sub 6 foot. He's going to be sub 200. Yeah, he's small. And I get that if that's a big enough knock for some of y'all to be like, yeah, he's probably off my board. But I don't think any of us really dispute the talent of Bryce Young. So I'd be taking him first. But hey, what can I say? He's speaking to my soul. It ain't the size of the boat, but the motion in the ocean. Best joke in the world. Arizona Cardinals, they're going with Jalen Carter. Basically, I feel like Cardinals are just in a great position. They're either gonna get their choice of Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, or if the Bears have to stick at one, not that I think they will, then they'll get the other guy. They're 1A, 1B. They're the 2 best non-quarterback quarterback prospects in this class. So, you know what? I think it plays out well. All right, the Colts, they sit here at 4. They get C.J. Stroud. Stroud had a big game in the college football playoff. I think he's probably got the higher floor, probably even among the top 3 quarterbacks. He's got prototypical size. He's got an NFL arm. I like that. I think he's coming to a great situation here with the Colts. And that's why, you know what, if you don't want to do trades in a mock draft, it would be unrealistic if you don't have the Colts move up or the Bears trade out of the first pick. It's like, I feel like nothing changes. At least if you're projecting the Colts to trade with the Bears. Because, like, if you don't do this trade, then what happens? Okay, Bears get Will Anderson / Jalen Carter. Colts still get a quarterback. It changes nothing. So, all right. Yeah, okay, Gojo. Thanks for messing up my curtains, brah. Oh, gosh. Screw it. All right, but I don't know. Maybe it's a little nitpick of mine when someone's like, I can't believe they didn't do the trade. And I was like, it kind of results in a very similar thing. So I don't know. Seattle Seahawks, they go with Tyree Wilson. Y'all know me. If you don't, well, it's crack-a-lackin'. It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so. And I'm more of the Miles Murphy guy. Guilty. So, like, I get it. Some people really like Tyree Wilson. He's got the better production between the two, but I think he's going to test out a whole lot better. They're very similar prospects, though. All right. The Detroit Lions are going Brian Brazee. Wow. Okay, it's nice to see someone not hate Brian Brazee, because we've seen, like, what? Was it Dane Brugler that had him going later? Or maybe it was Daniel Jeremiah. I think it was Daniel Jeremiah had him go all the way at 30. So let's actually read this one. Adding another trench warrior to the Lions defensive line will help head coach Dan Campbell and defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn build a bully in Motown. Yeah, I like this pick. I don't mind it. Like, typically I'm going like my Miles Murphy. Simply I have him a spot higher on my board than Brian Brazee. But if you want to go with Brazee, I think that's A-okay as well. So, yeah. You either hate him or you love him. You don't. There's really not a lot of in between. And yeah. All right, we got the Las Vegas Raiders going with Paris Johnson. I think there's so many different possibilities the Raiders could go here. Like, I experimented with them going corner, and I actually really liked that. They could go edge. Miles Murphy's on the board here. They could go, obviously, offensive tackle. We could talk about Will Levis. Let's see this. Upgrading the production around a new franchise quarterback should be part of Josh McDaniels' master plan this offseason. You say a new franchise quarterback. Who is this new franchise quarterback, though? So, I don't know. This is why I'd be tempted to take a swing at Will Levis here. I think he's actually a good fit for Josh McDaniels' scheme. And, like, honestly, it's the more valuable position if you're going to swing on a position, because typically that's the first round. You're swinging on a lot of these guys with high upside. Then I'd rather it be, like, the most important position on an NFL roster. And Josh McDaniels, you almost got fired last year. So, maybe addressing the quarterback. Maybe you feel great with Jarrett Stidham. I don't know. I think this is why the Panthers need to, like, if the Panthers really want a quarterback, they probably have to move ahead of the Raiders some way, some shape and form. The Atlanta Falcons go with Peter Skoronski. It's Arthur Smith. I get it. He loves to run the football. I get it. Peter Skoronski. He's a guy that can work at guard. He could work at right tackle because Caleb McGarry is a free agent. I think you sign that guy. He is finally, like, he looked exceptionally good this year. You bring him back. It's like, oh, finally, this is what we thought we were drafting. Where was this, like, the last, what is it, like 3-4 seasons? So you bring him back. So essentially you're drafting a guard at this point. But maybe they don't, and you bring in Skoronski to be that right tackle. I really like the idea of going pass rush here, just because their pass rush is a piss, a pour. All right, we got Will Levis going to the Panthers. This is kind of a no-brainer. We should have all expected this. Once Will Levis made it to pick 9, it was kind of a foregone conclusion. We don't really need to talk much about this. Miles Murphy going to the Eagles. Eagles love the trenches. I think Brian Brazee's a popular spot here. Yeah, Miles Murphy, honestly, is a guy that I have higher up my board. They could get out a couple of contracts, but I mean, they got to bring back Brandon Graham, right? Not that he's a free agent, but he is a guy that they could cut for a net positive, at least in terms of the cap. But, like, dude just had a banger year, man. He's like, I'm up there in years, but I ain't done yet. But I like the idea of Miles Murphy. He'd come in, he could play interior if you want him to a little bit early on, get included in that rotation, and then also can kick in the interior. So it brings good versatility to your line. I fully expect Titans to take a tackle. Okay, yeah. Broderick Jones. Everyone and their mom's mocking it. Everyone and their mom's mocking it. Derrick Henry needs an offensive line. They need a tackle. And you know what? At least 3 of the top, or at least the big 3 tackles in this class, one of them's going to be available at 11. It don't take rocket science. It's just an easy projection to make right now at this juncture. The Houston Texans take Quentin Johnson. This is another favorite of mine when it comes to mocking it up. I just love the idea of pairing up your new signal caller with a nice fresh wide receiver. For me, Johnston is wide receiver 1. He reminds me quite a bit of T. Higgins, who I think arguably could be a number 1 in the league. We saw that with Chase injured. But yeah, no, I'm cool with this. I also liked experimenting with the idea of them maybe going with a corner, because why not? You get your pick of the top corner here, but I guess the same is true for the wide receiver position. The New York Jets go O'Cyrus Torrence. Ooh, this one's interesting. Finding some stability on the offensive line is one of General Manager Joe Douglas's priorities. He does love the trenches. He does love the trenches. And grabbing Torrance here does feel early. They got Lincoln Tomlinson. I guess this means you grab Torrance here, and Elijah Vera Tucker will be one of your tackles. And then you're going to have to decide, I guess I don't know if Dwayne Brown's on a 1 or 2 year deal, but maybe they want to go with Max Mitchell. Mekhi Becton does come back, so it gives them options. I imagine they bring back Connor McGovern. So I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. Yeah. It feels just a little early for O'Cyrus Torrence. Michael Mayer going to the Patriots. This is actually one I like, because I definitely think Hunter Henry could end up being a cap casualty this year. The Patriots could elect to go back to the future by drafting a tight end who allows them to utilize more jumbo packages. Sure. But Michael Mayer, man, I like Michael Mayer a lot. I think he could be a top 15, top 20 pick. We got Brian Branch going to the Packers. This is an interesting one. I don't think this is a great scheme fit, because Brian Branch, honestly, at his best around the line of scrimmage. He plays that star role for Alabama. Like, I think he almost played 600 of his snaps this season in the slot. Currently, what they got there with the Packers, they do a lot of off coverage, unless you're making Brian Branch your slot guy, which wasn't that a majority of what Jair Alexander did this year? I'm not positive on that one. I know that was that's something they play with, because Jair is just freaking flexible like that. Let us see. It was Nixon that led in slot snaps. That's interesting. So was Darnell Savage down there? Okay. Well, I guess maybe you could make this work out. Oh, I don't know, man. Adrian Amos, that's a lot of snaps you're going to have to replace. I mean, they got Rudy Ford. He's probably going to see a nice increase. That'll probably be the guy to take Amos's role. I don't know, man. Maybe if they could figure it out. They could maybe figure out. He just doesn't feel like a scheme fit for the Packers. But I love Branch, so I'm not against it. Washington gets a stud. I believe this is the first corner off the board in Devon Witherspoon, right? Oh, great Scott. He is the first corner off the board, which not really shocking me. I think he's starting to get a lot of love, but at 16, the first corner coming off the board does actually shock me. Yeah, Commanders, they would love to get a corner. I think in the first round, pair up with Benjamin St. Jules. then yes. We're going to see corners start rolling. Joey Porter not only staying in state, but he's going to his daddy's team. I think he's be a good scheme fit. There we go for Mike Tomlin's defense. He's long. He's got good athleticism. And fun fact, Lions 18. We're going corner back to back. Oh, I just hit the mic. To back. Maybe I should have my mic like up here. I don't know. Can y'all still even hear me? I feel like I need to talk louder in the microphone though. So I like it a little more closer to me. I like the mic being intimately in my face. Pause. However, no, I like the idea of the Lions getting a corner. I tend to prefer to go with the corner early, so this very thing doesn't happen, because I think then there's just this run on corners. Suddenly you're like, oh, we're missing out. We're having to take the 4th, 5th, maybe even 6th best corner on the board. So I like the idea of them maybe trade down with the Panthers, take a corner at 9, and then just take best player on the board here at 18, whether it's Lucas Van Ness, Bijan Robinson, Michael Mayer, Brian Branch. I think there's a lot of good guys that could get with this pick. But they ended up getting Christian Gonzalez, who's typically who I mock to the Detroit Lions, so that's A-okay. Works out. It works out in Bucky's world. Drew Sanders going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is something I stated in my video yesterday. It was like, hey, Levante David, kind of a free agent. Honestly, either Trenton Simpson or Drew Sanders. I think these are both very fine picks for Tampa Bay, especially after all this run on corners. Maybe you don't like Keely Ringo. Maybe you don't like Cam Smith. There's questions about those guys, so maybe you do go with the linebacker. Sanders is just going to test out exceptionally well, too. Seattle Seahawks are going Jackson Smith-Njigba. What? General Manager John Schneider and head coach Pete Carroll used their second first-round pick to add another explosive weapon to this offense's arsenal. Yeah, that's kind of nice. Like, what was it, D. Eskridge? He hasn't really panned out. I think mainly because he's been hurt, right? Goodwin is like solid, but he's like, he's like this speedy vertical threat that'll take a top off of defense, but maybe not probably better wide receiver 4. You get Smith-Njigba and throw him in the slot with guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Yeah, you know what? I get it. I understand the sex appeal behind that pick, so I don't mind it. And what they already made out with a defensive prospect anyway, so yeah. Bijan Robinson going to the Chargers. I've talked about this one. Now, Bucky talks about it like this. The Bolts could look to become tougher offense by adding a rugged runner with big playability to complement Austin Eckler. Well, I look at it like Austin Eckler will be a free agent after next season. Have one awesome season where you have Bijan and Austin on the same squad, and then be like, bye-bye Austin, we don't pay running backs. That's how I see it. And I don't mind it. I really don't. So, yeah. I like this scenario where we're just playing with where Bijan can go, because he's just hard to project. The Baltimore Ravens are drafting Anthony Richardson, by the way. Head coach John Harbaugh said last week that the Ravens are committed to keeping Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. But if the two sides can't reach a long-term deal and the Ravens decide to start preparing for an alternative future at the position, the Florida standout could be an option despite his shortcomings as a passer. Yeah, he's got a big arm, great athlete. That is Anthony Richardson. Best believe your sweet cheeks. If the Ravens draft Anthony Richardson, Lamar Jackson's not going to be there next year. Be like, well, they could franchise tag him. He ain't playing under a franchise tag. You can slap the franchise tag on him, but basically you're gonna have to do it. You're gonna end up dealing him. That's what's gonna be the result. And then what you get, you're gonna get a year of Tyler Huntley, which we saw that to mixed results. It was kind of is what it is. I think the Ravens have to re-sign Lamar Jackson. We've seen how bland this offense is, how not even mediocre but below average that this offense is without Lamar Jackson. Gotta pay him, Ravens, or else I don't know what you're gonna do. The Minnesota Vikings are going with Cam Smith out of South Carolina. That's right, Donatel. He's gone. Vikings need to make some upgrades on that side of the ball, particularly the secondary. Yeah, you look to corner and be like, oh, well, they have some young potential there. Whatever. It's still bad right now. Add more competition because it's a volatile position anyway. And guess what? The best players will play. Is it bad to be too strong at a position? If you're complaining, it's like, well, we got young players that could emerge. They haven't emerged yet. Go ahead, address the position. Ain't that right, Gojo? That's right. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going with Keely Ringo. This one's a bit interesting, but I kind of understand it. They did grab a similar corner in Tyson Campbell, who was a very good athlete, but technique-wise was like, oh, probably could be better. With Ringo, you kind of have those same worries, a bit of, like, at least in terms of his, like, do I want to say, like, his, I guess, his coverage prowess. There's just kind of lapses in his mental fortitude. Let's go with something like that. And he just kind of reacts slow to play sometimes. We'll see it underneath, and sometimes over the top when he's in press. So it's like, I get why people are hesitant, but it's like when you got a guy this big that moves that fast, I think that it can eventually work in the NFL, like we saw with Tyreek Woolen, but he did fall to the fifth because of it. I think more similarly, maybe Tyson Campbell will be a better example, where I think Ringo could probably fall outside the top 20 and end up even being an early second round pick. But Darius Williams played exceptionally well. I don't know if I want to put him back in the slot where he didn't play well. So I don't know about this. I'm indifferent. Zay Flowers going to the Giants. Brian Daboll's like, you know what would help our quarterback? A bunch of 5'10" or smaller wide receivers. That'll help. Obviously, I'm just playing, but that's kind of gonna be a knock for Zay Flowers' size. But I get it, man. Dude's exceptionally fast. I think he's like 5'10", 175. So he is a bit like undersized. He's a bit thin, but like what we saw on the outside this year from him was fairly solid, you know? I feel better about him at the back end of the first round here. I do admittedly tend to lean Josh Downs a bit more, who they're basically two guys who I think are comparable to like Jahan Dotson from last season. Except for I would say Downs is probably a bit better as a pass catcher to some regard than Flowers. Like definitely in the speed department, I think Flowers has him beat. Like, yeah, I don't know. Jordan Addison, he's still up here. He's gonna be like 6 foot. Why not grab him? Here's Deontay Banks. If you're not new to the channel, you've heard me talk about him the last couple of weeks. I'm not exceptionally in love with him, but I get why people love him as a prospect. Very good athlete. He's shown a knack to be able to get around the football. So, like, I get why people like him. I don't like him as a first rounder. I can understand if you like him probably like second. For me, I'm more in the like third round, or I guess midday 2 area. But yeah, no, ideally, like I think the Cowboys would love to be able to get a corner to pair up with Trevon Diggs with Anthony Brown. There we go. As a free agent. Got the Buffalo Bills. They get Jordan Addison. Hello. Apparently somebody's not satisfied with Gabe Davis. So grabbing more pass catchers. Guess this might protect you from a Stephon Diggs really wants out of town there. What you gotta say, Aquila? You out there barking. Crazy dogs. But Jordan Addison, I mean, I think this is a fine pick. Feels like a bit more of a luxury pick for the Bills. But I think they did get kind of exposed, at least defensively, that they need more depth in the back seven. I think offensively, that offensive line's just not up to snuff right now. So, yeah, this feels like a bit of a luxury pick, but I don't know. I don't know what else he might do. All right, because I mean, basically, O'Cyrus Torrence, the guy I like in this area, off the board. Do I really want to take John Michael Schmitz, Andrew Voorhees at this pick? And literally, corners have literally just flown off the board. I think there's 6 corners already off the board. So maybe I feel better about maybe snagging one of those second round options. You could make an argument for Antonio Johnson there. He's just not sexy. Like, sexy pick. I'm sure he's a sexy individual. Darnell Washington. I'm not in love with this one. I don't think he's like the type of dynamic athlete you'd want him to be. Like, if people would be like, he moves exceptionally well for 6'7", 270, and it's like in a straight line. Like, maybe coming off of like a wheel or some sort, but like, this guy ain't making cuts in the open field. He doesn't really have natural ball skills. Like, drops were a thing. And to be fair, the sample size thrown to him wasn't that big either, because it's not what he was. So, like, I don't know. I'm just not. I don't know how I feel about even the fit. Like, I'm not totally against it. Lucas Van Ness, by the way, going to the Broncos here. Pass rushers are coveted at a premium in a division featuring Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Yeah, I guess so. Anton Harrison, I think, would be a fine pick here. Also, Darnell Washington. I think those are fine selections here. Lucas Van Ness, though, to be fair, he's probably the highest guy left on the board. So it's just good value. Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to be taking Antonio Johnson. Ooh, this is interesting. Defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo finds ways to tap into the versatile talents of high IQ defenders with loaded toolboxes. I don't know. In this scenario, do you bring back, like, Julian or Juan Thornhill? Because Antonio Johnson's not the guy to replace Juan Thornhill. I don't think he's got that type of range. Like, he's more so a cat that you want to use around the line of scrimmage. Maybe get Justin Reed to do it. Maybe use Johnson in like a honey badger role. I don't know. It's an interesting pick. It's one I haven't seen yet, so I haven't seen this done in a mock. I'm all for it. Then we got the Eagles taking Jahmyr Gibbs. Fun fact: did you know that Miles Sanders was a free agent? Yeah, I didn't know until just now either. I don't like penciling in a running back here for the Eagles unless it's Bijan, because then it's obvious. But if it's Bijan, he's not going to be here at 31. Other options, like a lot of corners are off the board. I mean, technically with going Miles Murphy, you didn't really get an interior player, but I'm not like those. The interior guys right here are more nose tackles, so unless you just want monster fronts, which honestly I don't think is half bad. I don't think there's a great pick here the Eagles can make. I think this probably be likely a good trade down spot. But Gibbs is really good, very explosive. I just think I'm very tough when it comes to running back value, and I think I have Gibbs as I think he's like 37th on my big board, which actually says a lot about a running back talent. Like it's pretty highly regarded. I think if you go back last year, my first running back, when I looked at my top 150, it wasn't until 50 and 51 with Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall. Year before that with guys like Najee, Javante, and Etienne. Etienne, I think, was my high. Yeah, no, he was my highest guy. I was an Etienne fanboy. And I think Etienne was just inside the top 30, maybe? Oh, no, I have to go back. But I know Javante Williams was like somewhere from like 30 to 45, with Najee Harris being like 45, 50. So like, yeah, when it comes to running back value, they're not on my big board. They're not really high up there on my big board. I'm kind of a douche. What can I say? But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing as always. Until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.